You're listening to Rolling Recklessly, the podcast where dice hit the floor, paint gets spilled, and no game ever goes exactly as planned. I'm Grizzly, and here we dive headfirst into Warhammer, tabletop gaming, and the beautiful mess that is the hobby life. From epic crits to absolute disasters, we'll cover it all. So grab your minis, roll with me, and let's get reckless. Welcome back to Rolling Recklessly, the podcast where we dive into all things Warhammer Age of Sigmar. From lore in the tabletop to the hobby desk and beyond, I'm your host Grizzly, and today we're continuing our deep dive into one of the most pivotal eras of the Mortal Realms, the Broken Realms saga. Last time, we covered the fallout of the Soul Wars, how the Necroquake shattered the flow of magic across every realm, and how Nagash's ambition led to his greatest defeat. We talked about Marathi's rise, the creation of the OC Bone Reapers, and the first cracks forming within the Gods of Order. And of course, we saw Teclis, the mage god of Hysh, rise to the challenge, and Nagash himself in a battle that literally broke Death's grip on the realms. That confrontation left both gods scarred, and it set the stage for everything that followed. Because as the dust settled, new powers began to stir. Be'lakor, the Dark Master, saw his moment to strike, casting the realms into shadows, and deep in Gur, the god of earthquakes, Kragnos, was awakening. This episode picks up right there, where the light and death give way to darkness and destruction. We'll break down the lore, the key events, and how this chaos reshaped the mortal realms forever. So grab your paintbrushes, pour yourself a drink, and let's roll. After Teclis struck down Nagash and Hysh, the mortal realms entered a fragile calm, one that Be'lakor saw as an opportunity. The self-proclaimed Dark Master, first and most bitter of the demon princes, had always schemed in the shadows. He watched Archaon claim the title of Ever-Chosen and grow into a favored weapon of chaos, while he himself remained a servant, denied the glory he believed was his birthright. In the Broken Realms Be'lakor saga, his envy finally turned into action. He began manipulating mortals, demons, and chaos warlords alike to bring about a single goal: to shatter Sigmar's control over the Realmgate network and cast the realms into a permanent shadow. Be'lakor's plan hinged on re-enslaving the Celestant Prime, the first Stormcast forged by Sigmar and a symbol of Azir's hope. Using twisted rituals, Be'lakor sought to corrupt the Prime's essence, to turn Sigmar's greatest champion into a puppet of chaos. While this part of the ritual ultimately failed, it revealed his larger scheme, to bind his power directly into the storm of reforging that carried the Stormcast souls back to Azir. Though forbidden, sorcery, and the sacrifice of entire chaos cults, Be'lakor corrupted the Realmgate network itself. A cataclysmic shadow storm erupted across the skies of the mortal realms, choking the heavens and cutting off the flow of light between them. This became known as the Cursed Skies, a phenomenon so powerful that even disrupted the soul energy Sigmar used to reclaim fallen Stormcast. Many of those warriors, instead of returning to Azir, simply vanished. Their souls dispersed into dark clouds, trapped into eternal limbo. The results were devastating. Across Chamon, Akshi, and even Gur, entire cities vanished beneath veils of shadow. Trade between realms ended overnight. Armies were isolated, trapped behind barriers of unending storms. Even the anvils of Heldenhammer Stormcast, most familiar with death and loss, were shaken as reforging became unreliable. Meanwhile, Be'lakor's demonic legions marched under his cloak of darkness. Entire mortal empires fell before they even realized what was happening. The Chaos Gods rejoiced at the carnage, but Be'lakor's pride grew unchecked. He believed he had finally outsmarted every god and every mortal. But just as his grip on the mortal realms seemed secure, the natural magic of Gur, the realm of beast, began to surge uncontrollably. The Broken Realms Be'lakor book reveals that his storms disrupted the primal energies that kept ancient forces in check. One of those forces was Kragnos, the god of earthquakes. Buried beneath mountains of living stone, Be'lakor's shadows magic, spreading like oil into every realm, inadvertently weakened the seals that bound Kragnos in his internal prison. So while the Dark Master celebrated his victory, the ground beneath Gur began to crack and open. The tremors spread across the realms like distant thunder, a warning that Be'lakor's Age of Shadow was about to be crushed by something far more primal and uncontrollable. The gods of chaos had unleashed a storm of their own, one that neither Be'lakor nor Archaon could command. The era of the beast was coming. With the skies darkened by Bellicor storms and the Realmgates choked in shadow, few noticed at very first that the ground beneath Gur began to shake. Those who did dismissed it as natural restlessness of the realm of beast, until the tremors grew into earthquakes that shattered mountains and swallowed entire armies. What Bellicor had unknowingly done with his dark ritual was unravel the magic seals that had kept ancient god in tune for ages. Kragnos, the end of empires, the living cataclysm. Long before Sigmar even arrived on the mortal realms, Kragnos had been worshipped as a god of earthquakes and destruction by the druids and beastkin of Gur. He was once a guardian of balance, a primal force that ensured nature's cycle of life and ruin continued. But over time, Kragnos' pride turned to wrath. He no longer saw destruction as renewal, he saw it as dominion. Drunk on his own power, Kragnos turned on his fellow gods and the mortal civilizations that once revered him. His rampages were so violent that even the greatest empires of the realm of beast fell before him. Cities of stone crumbled and tribes scattered. In desperation, the Seraphon and the druids of Thondio worked together to imprison him deep beneath the earth, sealing him inside a cavern of living rock held fast by the magic of Gur itself. For centuries, Kragnos slept, a god entombed, forgotten even by myth, that is, until Bellicor's storm spread across the realm. The corruption and magical distortion seeped into the ley lines of Gur, cracking the seals of Kragnos' prison. When he awoke, the world shattered. His rage echoed across the mortal realms. With every step, the ground quaked. Mountains split apart. Herds of beasts of chaos, oryx, and even monstrous creatures of Gur felt his call, drawn to his fury like moths to the flame. Kragnos emerged into a realm that had changed. Mortals had carved cities, gods had forged empires, and balance had been replaced by order. To him, it was an insult. In his eyes, the world had grown weak and tame, and so his campaign began. The Broken Realms Kragnos book describes his return as nothing short of apocalyptic. His rampage crushed entire cities of Sigmar strongholds. The city of Excelsis, jewel of the realm of beasts, became ground zero for the destruction of Kragnos' sought vengeance on the descendants of those who imprisoned him. Sigmar's champions rallied to defend it. Stormcast Eternals, Seraphon, and the Free Guilds all stood shoulder to shoulder, but Kragnos was unstoppable. It took Lord Kroak himself, the resurrected Slan, to turn the tide. It was one of the most cinematic moments in all of Age of Sigmar lore. Kroak unleashed a spell of containment that redirected Kragnos' seismic energy back into the earth, halting his rampage long enough to save Excelsis, at least for now. But even then, Kragnos wasn't defeated, only slowed. His emergence marked a shift in the mortal realms. The forces of destruction were no longer content to brawl at the edges of the world. Under Kragnos, they found purpose, a god to unite them, even if only shared through chaos. Bellicor's shadow had torn the realms apart, but Kragnos' awakening shattered what little remained of the balance. It was the true beginnings of the era of the beast, a time when destruction rose to challenge every other godly power. The Broken Realm saga really marked the end of one age and the beginning of another. What started with Nagash's overreach during the Necroquake spiraled into a chain of godly mistakes and grudges that reshaped immortal realms forever. Bellicor's jealousy turned the skies black. Kragnos' fury tore open the earth itself, and together they left the realms scarred, ready for whatever comes next. I've always loved how this series shows that the mortal realms aren't static. The gods win in battles, but none of them really ever win. Every action has consequences. Teclis tried to bring some order to magic and broke death. Bellicor tried to control the realms and willed something that he couldn't. The Broken Realms books capture that chaos perfectly. The sense that every faction story keeps colliding in ways that no one planned. And for us as hobbyists and players, that's what keeps Age of Sigmar so exciting. These events aren't just lore, they echo in our games, our armies, and the stories that we build at the table. As we move forward, we'll be stepping into the era of the Beast, Alariel's Rite of Life, and the rise of the Dawnbringers, and the return of primal magic to the realms. But before that, I want to take a moment just to thank everyone listening. Whether you've been here since the early lore dives, or just found the show through the gameplay and hobby episodes, I appreciate every listen, every comment, and every conversation that comes out of this podcast. If you want to keep up with me and what's coming next, to be part of our community, make sure you're following me at Instagram at rolling_recklessly_podcast, or subscribe on YouTube at Rolling Recklessly, and hop into our Discord. It's where all the behind the scenes chats and league talk happens. Next time, we'll be kicking off a brand new faction focus, diving deep into the Daughters of Cain, Morathi's rise, and how her actions still ripple across the realms. And until then, may your crits be high, your paint never dry, and your rolls ever reckless.